self-love isn't the flip of a switch. You decide one day, I'm gonna start to love myself, and you flip this switch or you press this button and everything is on the up and up from here on out. It'd be kind of cool if it was that way, but that's not life, right? You're going to have challenging days. You're going to have great days. You're going to have ebbs and flows. Self-love is a choice that you have to make every single day. You're listening to episode 104 of the MomTalks with Christa podcast. Hope you guys are having a great week. Thank you so much for joining me this week. I'm so excited because I'm inviting you to my Self-Love Bootcamp today. But before we get to that, I have a couple of announcements, things I want to bring to light and share with you. So first, in case you missed it, earlier this month, we released our brand new lactation cookie bites, or mini lactation cookies as the packaging says. I just like to call them cookie bites. These we just launched a couple weeks ago and I am so excited for them. They're ready to eat. It's been a high request from our mamas because sometimes you're just on the go and don't really feel like baking, and that's okay. They make a great snack, breakfast, whenever you see fit. They include all the key ingredients traditionally used to help boost milk supply: flaxseed, brewer's yeast, and oats. So it's just a great healthy snack loaded with vitamins. And our moms are already loving these cookies and have left us amazing reviews and feedback. So I actually wanted to read one today from Caitlin. She says, "These cookies are so yummy. I wasn't accepting anything less since the Mommy Knows Best lactation chocolate chip cookie mix is so good as well. These cookies are better than any other pre-packaged baked cookie I've tried. Famous Amos, Chips Ahoy, other lactation cookie brands, etc. I'll be honest, I definitely ate more than the serving when trying them. It was hard to stop. As you can see, my bag is almost gone." She shared a picture on her review. "I love that they have real butter in them and that there are no artificial ingredients or preservatives. You can tell they taste more homemade than other cookie brands I mentioned above. The taste and texture are great. I love the packaging. And yes, I did notice a boost in my milk supply, most importantly." That is huge. "I'm breastfeeding my 2.5-year-old and my 11-week-old, so I definitely need the support in keeping up my supply. I tandem feed my children daily. I feel like I need the extra support now because of that. These cookies are a great alternative to the mix when you're short on time and need something on the go to support lactation. I recommend them and would buy again." I love that review. I love that she not only loved the taste, but helped boost her supply. So thank you, Caitlin, for leaving that amazing review. I am so glad to hear they worked for you and you love them. Okay, and I do want to mention this is the final week that you can get 20% off as a part of our launch price, available on mommyknowsbest.com. Just add them to your cart. There's no code necessary. We just want as many moms to be able to try these amazing cookies during our launch month. There's a very similar offer available on Amazon as well, if you prefer to shop on Amazon. So get the cookies. Let me know what you think. I cannot wait to hear it. All right, guys, now into today's episode. It is a solo pod. That means it's yours truly and yours truly only. This is all about self-love, my little self-love boot camp. I'm sharing a clip. Actually, it's going to end up being probably most of it because it's so good, from a recent peanut pod, and just the feedback from it was so great. I received a lot of messages from the moms in it. There was a lot of live feedback from the moms, just being really grateful to have this community, to be able to feel empowered and talk about self-love, because it's something that I think maybe a lot of us weren't really taught to, maybe when we were younger, or we're just having struggles with it right now, entering a new stage of life or being a mom. Or some of the moms in the group have older kids and they're trying to teach it to them. And so it's this amazing thing where you can come together and learn with other moms and just really connect. And so it was a really great peanut pod. So I talk not only about the importance of self-love, but also that it has ebbs and flows. So it's not like you flip a switch and you're like, I love myself. All right, we're good. Every day is going to have ups and downs. And part of having self-love is giving yourself the grace to know that you are deserving of having bad days, and that's okay. But you're still lovable on those bad days, right? You're still worth it. You're still deserving. And so if you struggle with self-love, this episode is for you. And if you know someone that's struggling, please share it with someone. And I just really hope it helps and hope it impacts people. And I share questions for self-reflection for the days that you don't feel very great. And these are really good. It's really good to have self-reflection because I truly believe that the key to self-love is checking in with ourselves and being present in the moment. Because how many times are we just running around like a chicken with our head cut off? We are just on the go. We have all these to-do lists. We have tasks we need to take care of, people we need to take care of, that we forget to just take a step back, take a breath, and ask ourselves, how are we doing that day? And so on those days that we're maybe not feeling the best, to be able to step aside and ask ourselves, what's going on with me? Why do I feel this way? What am I missing right now? Or what do I need right now? And obviously in the episode, I'll go into more of those questions as well. Really reflecting that, doing a self-reflection is going to help you feel more in tune to yourself and in tune to what you need. I think we forget to ask ourselves those questions sometimes. And then of course, at the end, I talk about different ways that you can show your self-love if you are struggling, or if you're just kind of like tiptoe into it. And an important thing that I do say in the episode, but I want to say again now, is that self-love is not going to look the same for everybody. So if this girl over here is saying, oh yeah, I need to take my bubble baths once a week and turn on some music, and you're like, I hate bubble baths, there's no way, because it's not the same for everybody. You got to think about what works for you. Maybe self-love for you is just sitting in your car 10 extra minutes before picking your child up for daycare. Or maybe self-love to you is just doing a quick FaceTime call with a friend of yours. Or maybe self-love to you is treating yourself to a coffee drink that you don't normally get. Whatever it is, you have to think of what it means to you. Journaling can be self-love, meditation, yoga, using your body, like whatever it is, really get in tune with what works for you. And there's just not one blanket statement that's going to work for everybody. So I think that's really important to remember. And it's important to remember too, that you can try things and be like, it really didn't work for me. I didn't really feel connected to myself, and then move on. And that's okay. This is a clip from the Peanut Pod. I'm going to play it for you guys. If you are interested in joining another Peanut Pod, like I said, they are live Peanut Pods. So when you're in the live Peanut Pod, you can engage, you can interact, you can send me messages after, and we can connect that way as well. I can also send you other links. So our next Peanut Pod is November 3rd, and we are talking dealing with difficult relationships during pregnancy and motherhood. This is another topic I see come up all the time in our Peanut Pods, our Facebook group, where have you. So let's talk about difficult relationships and how to manage them and manage boundaries during pregnancy and motherhood, because it's so, so, so important. All right, guys, without further ado, here is my solo pod, your Self-Love Bootcamp. I hope you guys enjoy it. Please share it with a friend. If you love this podcast, please leave a review. I would love to hear from you. So now to kind of start off, if you're comfortable, you don't have to, I want you to react, or, you can kind of like, you can send a heart like this, right? I think I sent it. All right. Send a heart if you're having a hard time with self-love. If this is something that you find you maybe struggle with from time to time, you're not sure you fully understand it, you feel great some days with it, other days you're kind of struggling. So react to it. Just kind of give a show of hands, or, you can kind of leave it to yourself too. My assumption is, if you are here today, just as if I say quote unquote teaching this today, because you can't really fully teach self-love. You can embrace it and I can encourage it, but I'm learning with you guys, and I am in my own journey of myself with my own self-love. And so don't think because I'm sharing this that I am an expert. Every day I wake up and I smiling face, like, oh, I love myself. I'm amazing. Self-love is definitely a journey. We all have our journeys. So I want you to know that I'm here with you. I'm in it with you. So this is something that we are going to work together on today. And I want to leave you with some exercises to try as well. A lot of it, like I said in the beginning, is about self-awareness, about being in tune with ourselves. Because if you think about our day-to-day, we are on the hustle and bustle. We are running around, taking care of people around us. A lot of times we're left last on the totem pole. We are the last person we think about. Sometimes we don't even have time to check in with ourselves and be like, hey, like, how you doing in there? Because we're checking with everyone else. And here's the thing, if we're checking with everyone else and no one checks in with us, what happens? We kind of keep falling to the wayside. So it's about awareness, and it's about asking yourself those tough questions to understand that that's all a part of this kind of journey. Something like I've kind of talked about before, because I always like to start with this. First and foremost, something to bring to your attention is that self-love isn't the flip of a switch. You decide one day, I'm gonna start to love myself, and you flip this switch or you press this button and everything is on the up and up from here on out. It'd be kind of cool if it was that way, but that's not life, right? So, you're going to have challenging days. You're going to have great days. You're going to have ebbs and flows. Self-love is a choice that you have to make every single day. And if it were that easy of a press of a button, maybe we wouldn't appreciate or acknowledge it as much, because it would be this unsaid thing, right? And so for me personally, growing up, I never really heard the term self-love. I never was taught, you love yourself, right? You don't hear that. You hear like, I love my mom, I love my dad, I love my sister, brother, friend, whatever it is. But at least in my generation, or, when I was a kid, we weren't like, do you love yourself? Yeah, I love myself, And so I think that's one really powerful thing coming from this, our generation growing up now, because we can teach our children. It's cool to say like, hey, I love myself. And even when I have those bad days or I fumble a little bit, I can still love myself through that and give myself grace and compassion. So I want you to think right now, this is kind of like a little exercise. I want you to think about your own relationship with the term self-love. Does it feel funny for you to hear? Does it feel funny or weird to say out loud, like, I love myself? And I think a lot of times that will answer the questions we have. Maybe when you grew up, like you came from a family where even your parents didn't say, I love you to each other, or they didn't say, I love you to you a lot. And so for them to not say it to you a lot, for you to say it to yourself would be completely out of the ballpark, right? So ask yourself, it's kind of like a little exercise. Ask yourself, what is my own relationship with just the term self-love? Is it a scary term? Is it exciting? Is it weird? Does it feel wrong? So for me personally, saying I love myself, at the root of it all, it feels conceited. It feels like I'm full of myself. It feels like I'm bragging in some weird way. And that's kind of that like real, like raw, like when I say like raw emotion, because we were raised, you love your family, you love your close friends, stuff like that. And we're raised in that generation where you compliment other people. You don't compliment yourself, because that looks like you're full of yourself, right? And so it's this new type of phrase that's kind of coming out more and more as a healthy way to view ourselves. Because self-love doesn't mean we put ourselves on a pedestal and we're like, wow, I am better than everyone around me. Wow, everyone must be so lucky to know me. I'm just great, right? I think we confuse ourselves with that. Self-love is understanding ourselves. It is giving ourselves grace, and it is appreciating all the parts of ourselves. It could be, growing up, like if everyone around you was an athlete, and so you find yourself criticizing yourself, like, oh, I wish I was more athletic, or I'm too out of shape to do that. Like, oh, my body's so weak. But instead you flip it and go, wow, I'm really artistic though. I can escape in my mind when you give me a pen and a piece of paper. I can write for hours, or I can draw. So finding those things about you that make you shine, that make you feel unique, special. It's looking at your body and saying like, wow, my body gets me from point A to point B every day. Like, yes, she is beautiful too. This woman over here is beautiful, but I can be beautiful too in my own way. Wow, she's really athletic and I'm artsy, or I'm athletic, but we're athletic in different ways. And it's not comparison. It's saying there's enough room for all of us, but in different ways. And it's respecting ourselves to allow ourselves to feel that way. Kind of back to that flip of a switch with self-love. Some days are going to feel really great. I always say, like, days that like everything seems to be going for us, it's like, yes, oh, this is amazing. I'm having a best day. This is awesome. And those days where we're just off, the littlest thing can make us just criticize ourselves, feel awful, go down a path of like hatred towards ourselves. I mean, how many of you guys have seen like those videos where it's like a TikTok right now where, you're having a good day and you could bump into something and be like, oh, okay, whatever. You're having a bad day and you like bump into the door and you feel like you have to curse at the door, like, oh my gosh, what is this door doing here? And it's the same door there every day, but you just see it differently because your vision is kind of clogged because you're having a bad day. So it's kind of like that. You're going to have good days and bad days. Some days will be extremely challenging, and other days you won't even think about it. At the end of the day, you'll be like, oh, kind of the day went by so fast. I didn't even have time to kind of reflect on who I was today or what I was doing today. And so to me, self-love is all of those things. Feeling great, feeling like you're having a very challenging day, very fast days where you have time to check in with yourself, feeling proud some days. Self-love is all those things. And it's giving yourself grace on those ups and downs. And knowing that you don't have to have all great days, and that does not diminish your value as a human. So the days that I feel ugly or I feel worthless, I stop and I reflect and I allow myself to have those feelings. So this is kind of another little exercise, and also send me a message if anyone wants me to send some of these exercises to you. But so a day that you might feel ugly or worthless or not really sure what your purpose is, or just like you're chasing the clock, stop, reflect, and allow yourself to have those feelings. This is because something those feelings tells you you're feeling that way for a certain reason. So in those moments, ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? What's going on with me today? And here are some questions I want you guys to ask yourself in those moments, in those days that aren't going so great. Do I feel this way because of something I'm doing or not doing? Do I feel this way because of who I surround myself with? Do I feel this way because of something I saw or consumed? Maybe it was on social media, a magazine, a book, someone in real life. Or do I feel this way because I've been neglecting myself lately? So we're consuming things all the time. I mean, if you think about like going on social media, and how often we scroll and scroll and scroll. We don't even realize sometimes the messages that are put in our head. So it's really important that when we feel low or we feel a certain way, that we ask ourselves, okay, what did I consume today? Did I see, am I feeling really bad about my body today? Did I see something on social media that maybe told me I need to lose some weight? Did I see something that said, oh, stretch marks aren't attractive? Did I see something that said, the clothes I'm wearing are too out of date, or, something like that? Where are these messages coming from? Or maybe you're surrounding yourself with very negative people. This is something I've talked about here before, but I had a group of friends from a previous job that I would hang out with. And even after I stopped working there, I would still get lunch with them sometimes. And then I started finding every time I left, I would feel so drained, unbelievably drained. I would feel bad about myself. I would self-criticize. I would look in the mirror and not like who I was. And I realized every time I got together with them, all they did was talk crap about people. And at first I was like, oh, they're just updating me on how the job is, And then I was like, wait, it's more than that. They're talking about people's looks. They're talking about people's jobs, what the money they make, the way they spent their time. And I was just like, wait, if they're doing that to these people, when I leave the room, is that what they're doing about me? So you have to ask yourself, who do I want to spend time with? Who do I feel energized with? And who do I feel depleted with? Because believe it or not, who we surround ourselves with is a reflection on our self-love sometimes. And we don't always think about it, right? And there are some people you're not going to be able to avoid. Obviously, there's going to be some family members or maybe some coworkers you have, or maybe you see a neighbor that you really have a hard time avoiding. But it's good to be aware and say, okay, I need to see this person for X amount of time during this thing. I'm going to limit it or keep it professional or keep it, then you can kind of walk in a little okay, I know what I needed to do here. Let's get in and get out. And that's okay. You know what? You got to have some boundaries. Protect the vibe. Okay, so kind of going back to those questions. This is kind of going a little bit deeper then. Maybe you've been putting yourself on the back burner for a while, and this feeling is allowing you to realize it's time to do something for yourself. So realize that no feelings are wrong. I think sometimes when we're younger, we're taught to be happy all the time. Don't be sad, don't cry, don't get mad, don't do this. When in reality, emotions are normal. Happy, sad, emotional, angry, fearful, they're all real emotions that is part of the human experience, right? So having these feelings is telling us, hey, something is different with you today, or something might need to change, or maybe you need alone time, or maybe you're really missing some connection with your partner. So we have to listen to these emotions. We can't just block them out. So kind of diving back into that. So maybe you've been putting yourself on the back burner for a while, and this feeling is allowing you to realize that it's time to do something for yourself. Maybe you've been putting everyone and everything before your own needs, and you realize that this isn't something you can keep doing for the long run. A lot of us people pleasers, if you're a people pleaser, you can react to this. A lot of people pleasers, we tell ourselves we can do this forever. Oh, I love doing this. I'm going to take care of everyone forever until the day I die. But then something happens. We get in this almost rebellious stage where we're like, I don't want to help anyone anymore because I don't feel it back, or I'm drained, or I'm exhausted. I don't feel the appreciation. I don't feel like what I'm doing is actually worth my time. Maybe you realize that something has been missing and you don't feel like yourself anymore and something needs to change. So these are all normal feelings, and it's our body's way of alerting us that we need something to change, or something in our life is being neglected. Maybe we used to love doing art projects, or we love organizing, or we love catching up with a friend over a drink or coffee or whatever, and we haven't done it in a while. So we're kind of feel like we're losing ourselves. So as I go through all this, or as I went through all this, I hope you found yourself kind of reflecting on your own life and asking yourself, like, how do you feel right now? And you can answer out loud, or you can jot down or just think about it. How do you feel right now? How would you rate your self-love today? Because like I said, it's not like an overall scale. It's kind of each day is going to change. There's some days I wake up and I'm like, okay, I'm like a 7 today. Other days I'm like a 3 today. There is a cloud over my head and I don't know why. But that cloud is good because it can bring on some kind of self-awareness. Why am I feeling this way? Oh, I stopped going on my morning walks. Or, oh, I stopped meditating. Or I haven't talked to my best friend in a few weeks. Asking yourself, what is it? So we're going to talk about some ways to be more aware of our feelings and give ourselves love. So again, this doesn't mean every day will be perfect. It just means every day is progress. So progress over perfection. It just means we're aware and working on it. So being more aware is just a start. Okay, so first, I talk about this a lot. So if you guys want me to send any of this to you later, I can absolutely do that. Or you can jot this down too while I'm talking, whatever works best for you. Okay, so first I talk about this a lot, but that is to start your day off with a journal. Now, this doesn't mean you have to commit to it or commit to writing for 30 minutes a day or even 15. And that can sound very overwhelming. And as someone like my, past, like I love writing. I always consider myself a writer, and I just didn't write for a long time. And I was like, oh, it has to be perfect. Like if I want to journal, it's got to be like this beautiful thing where when I look back on it, it's going to like make so much sense. And then I had to give up on that. Like sometimes your thoughts just need to come out. It's not going to be beautiful. It's not going to be eloquent. It's not going to be pretty. And that's just what you need. And I will I'll never forget the first day after a long break where I picked up my pen to that notebook and it just all came out and I felt so much relief, like all these like anxieties and worries I had. And once I wrote them down, I was like, oh, it's not even that big of a deal. Like, oh, we're all good. Like, it was things that just in my mind kept circling. But once I wrote it down, I was like, oh, it'll be fine. We'll cross that bridge when we get to it. Or I was like, okay, that kind of bothered me then, but it's good now. It was almost like my brain just wanted me to like address it and we're good. Okay. So you don't need to commit to 30 minutes or 15 minutes or writing a full sentence or all that. So because some days, like I barely have time to write down a sentence. So find kind of what works best for you. So, but this is the most important part. If you only have time for this is what you should make time for. Write down a number to rate how you feel that morning. And now there's no like set scale. It's going to be your own scale. But in order to have that scale, you just have to start. So one day, that's going to be your first day to, you wake up, you're going to open your journal and you'll be like, okay, how do I feel today? Okay, I feel a little overwhelmed, but overall I feel pretty good. So I'm going to give it a 6.5. That is going to start your scale. So then the next day you can say, do I feel better or worse than yesterday? Then, you're going to say like, I actually feel better because I got a lot of my stuff done yesterday that I needed to do. So I'm going to go with 7.5. Okay, then maybe the next day you're going to go to a 4.5. And then the next day, so it's your own scale, but it's allowing you to do that morning check-in. So like I said, we always, I shouldn't say we always, but we have that tendency to just jump into our day. We don't even stop to breathe and say like, how did I sleep last night? how do I feel this morning? What's my plan for the day? So by just doing that little check-in, it doesn't take long, and it's not a grading scale. You're not getting graded by it. You can literally just go by your first instinct and be like, okay, today feels like a 5. I'm just going to go with a 5. So you start one day and just go off with that. Okay, next, this is taking the check-in to the next level. And this is if you don't have time to journal, because I really do recommend journaling when you do have the time. You can also find time, later on, maybe when your baby's sleeping. Ask yourself what works best for you. Next, ask, what do I need to take care of myself today? So we do the first thing. And one of the biggest mistakes we make is when we're having a good day, like let's say we wake up and we're like, yesterday was amazing. I feel great. I'm going to go with an 8.5 today. Then what we do, we forget to take care of ourselves because we think, I'm doing great. It's like that, like therapeutic thing. It's like people stop going to therapy or stop doing things that make themselves feel good once they feel good. So if I realize like biking 3 times a week makes me feel really good, and then I'm like, I feel so good, I don't need a bike anymore. And so I stop biking, And so it's one of those things where even on our good days, we need to make sure we're taking that time to check in and be aware of ourselves and be aware of how we feel. Okay, so the next part was asking, what do I need today to take care of myself? So maybe on those days that you're an 8, you don't need anything as big. Maybe you're like, you know what? I just want to treat myself today. I'm going to get a coffee on the way to work. Maybe on those days where you're a 3, you're like, I need help. I really need help today. Maybe on one day you're like, I really would like to catch up with a friend. Feeling really lonely. Maybe you want to connect with your partner. Maybe lately you and your partner have been working so much, taking care of the kids, kind of like strangers in the night. And you're like, I'm really craving connection with my partner. Which, side note, if you are craving connection with your partner, there is this app, and it's free if you do there's a free version. This is like a completely side note. There's an app called Paired. And my husband and I just started using it, I think maybe 3 months ago. And it's amazing because there's some days, we work opposite schedules some days, where I'm 9 to 5 and he doesn't get home until midnight. And so what Paired is it asks, sorry, this is totally off the tangent, but it asks a question to both of you. And it doesn't show the person's response until you answer. So it might be like, what's your partner's most amazing trait about themselves? And then so you'll answer, and then they'll answer. And then once you both respond, you can see both responses. Then you can chat about it if you want. Or what's the coolest vacation you guys took together? So it allows you guys to connect. If for example, you're listening and you're like, I want to connect with my partner, but right now we're both working 50 hours a week and we have our kids in daycare, whatever it is, you don't have that time. It just allows a couple minutes of connection. Hey, I'm still here. I'm thinking about you. Let's reminisce about something. So catch up with a friend, asking for help, connection with a partner. Maybe you just need alone time. Whether or not you can get that, it might require you asking for help. It might require you having someone come over and watch your baby, or maybe alone time while your baby's napping, or, you got to think about, again, what works with your schedule. Maybe it's a treat. Maybe you want to treat yourself to a fancy Starbucks drink that you never will buy for yourself because you tell yourself you don't deserve it, but you deserve it. Okay. I'm going to tell you that. Or lastly, maybe you need therapy. Maybe you just need, therapy used to have, and in some families it still does, has this negative connotation that, therapy means you're mentally ill, that you can't handle things yourself, or there's this negative connotation with it. And I'm here to say therapy is cool, guys. So if you even just feel heavy, look into getting a therapist. I know sometimes it's not always affordable. So there's also community ones where there's group therapy. Or there's counselors or mentors you can also get as well. So there's different price ranges. And I've done like BetterHelp where you're basically all online as well too. So you don't need to drive anywhere. You can do it in the comfort of your own home. It's great. Okay. So the 2 questions there we just answered. Start your day with a journal and rate how you feel that morning. 2 is ask yourself, what do I need to take care of myself today? It's going to differ depending on the day, but every day should have something. Maybe some mornings all you need or all you have time for is just a couple minutes, couple seconds of focused breath. Maybe some mornings it's just lighting a candle and just looking at the sunrise. Whatever it is, ask yourself what you need. But I think the key thing is being present and making sure it's something for you, right? So with each of these things, and hopefully like right now as you're listening, you're kind of thinking of, okay, what things do I need to treat myself with? Or what things do I deserve? What things have I told myself I don't deserve? Or I think we're all guilty of that, especially as women or moms. We'll say like, oh, I don't need that like fancy thing, or I didn't work that hard this week. I don't deserve that. No, you deserve it. If you feel like you need it, you deserve it. Treat yourself. Okay. So the next you're going to ask yourself, how can I make this happen? And what are the logistics of it? Okay. So catching up with a friend, if it's someone that lives far away, you could set up like a FaceTime coffee date. Or once the kids are in bed, you do like a FaceTime wine date. Think of things that works for you. What are the logistics of it? Asking for help. Is there someone that's constantly reaching out and offering help and you're just like, no, it's okay. I got it. Us people pleasers, we're notorious for saying like, I've got it. I don't need help. Thank you. I'm good. We feel weird asking for help, right? We think it looks weak or vulnerable, but it's not. I actually just said this to a friend today because she's someone that it does things for everyone all the time. And I said, well, let me know if you need help coming up, because she's about to have her second baby. And I said, let me know if you need help coming up. I said, I know it's really hard to ask for help, but I would not offer if I didn't want to help. So remember that. If someone's offering to help you, they wouldn't offer if they didn't want to help. I think we tell ourselves that like, they're just saying it to be nice. Like, no, people really do want to help. People want to feel needed. They want to feel like they can help in some way. So even if it's something small, like maybe someone's been offering to help and you're like, you know what? I don't have time to get to the grocery store this week. Maybe I could just ask them to pick up a couple things when they go. So ask yourself, what do you need? How can you make it happen? And here's the thing too. There's going to be those days where you're not going to know what you need. And that's human. That's normal. I mean, that happens to me all the time. And so, but your body is telling you something's not working. Ask yourself, okay, what haven't I tried that before that I want to try now? What could I try? You don't have to commit to anything. Because there's some days where I'm like, I kind of crave connection, but then I also kind of want to be alone, so those days are kind of like hard because you're like, do I want to be alone or do I want to connect with someone? So if you don't know what you need, maybe think of a couple ideas or just try something and see how it feels. Like maybe you're like, okay, maybe I just need alone time and I just need to breathe, focus on my breathing. Maybe I just need to like get outside the house. Maybe I feel trapped right now. Maybe you want to try an art project. Maybe you want to bake because you haven't baked in a while, or get outside and walk more. So there's so many different things. And I think we tell ourselves like, oh, if I start walking, like I have to commit to it every day. Like that's my new thing. Like you don't have to. Like you could try walking around the block, then evaluate like, okay, did I feel better because I did that? Or how you rate your morning the next day. You're like, oh, I feel better today. Maybe it's because of the walk. So kind of addressing these new things you're trying. And then you'll kind of see, based on these things you try and do, okay, maybe this is the thing I was craving. Maybe this is what I needed. Because remember, when we feel kind of off or we feel different, it is our body telling us we want something to change. And, when we see self-love all the time on social media, and it seems like this almost like juvenile little thing, like, oh, self-love, like I got my self-love. But it's way deeper than that, as you guys can see today. It's really making that effort and that time to check in with yourself and showing yourself that you are worthy, you are valid, you are deserving of all these things. And sometimes the only time someone's going to check in with you is when you check in with yourself. You have to be your own advocate. You have to be your own voice. So checking in with yourself is the biggest form of self-love. Asking yourself what you need. Because you'll see those self-love maps that's like, have a bubble bath, crack open some champagne, or, do this. And it's not a one size fits all. Everyone has different ways to show themselves love. It's going to mean different for every person too. All right, guys, I hope you enjoyed the Self-Love Bootcamp and wrote down some of those self-reflection questions that you can ask yourself in the future when you're not feeling so great or just really want to check in with yourself. I think it's important to check in with ourselves, whether we're feeling great, mediocre, bad, and everything in between. It's always important to check in with yourself, even if you only have a few minutes. So make yourself a priority when you can. And of course, as a reminder, Lactation Cookie Bites, this is the last week. You can get it for 20% off. Let me know what you think of these as well. Thanks again for tuning in to this episode, and I will see you guys next week for a brand new episode. Bye, guys. Thank you so much for watching this episode. Before you go, make sure you like, subscribe, and ring that bell so you get notified of future episodes. We release new episodes every single Wednesday. See you next week.